Good day all, RobotnikHolmes here. You think this room might be a bit too much? It's better than the plain metal background at least. So I've been doing Sonic the Hedgehog comic reviews on and off for about 4 years now, starting way back in 2019, right after the new year if I recall. Though I wouldn't say my old stuff holds up very well to my current review style, among other things. Learn to spell, dumbass. My Sonic videos have been primarily about the comics published under Archie, and there are loads of them. It'll take me ages to go through it, even if I skip most of them. But you know one of the reasons why I started reviewing these old comics? Because the year before, the damn series got cancelled, right in its prime too. Whether it was due to Archie Comics' financial losses, or Sega being displeased with the handling of their IP, or a future NFT salesman trying to screw everyone over, the series was canned after several worryingly long delays, and let me tell you, baby me was freaking depressed. I was like, it was going so well, how can things end like this? But thankfully, like a sign from the heavens, that was not the end of Sonic Comics, as less than a day later the IP was handed over to a different one, IDW Publishing, and several very talented peeps jumped ship to this entirely new continuity. It was a fresh start, a whole new world of Sonic Comics that had no connections to the previous 24-year continuity. Needless to say, fans were equal parts excited and turned off at the subject, a discourse that continues even to this day, and I'll get into the comics soon, but first let me put you in the shoes of a Sonic comic fan back in 2018. Yep, it's story time with RobotnikHolmes. IDW Sonic is different from the Archie Comics continuity in a lot of ways. As well as not sharing the SatAM cast or any other comic original characters, the whole setting is more simplistic and very close to the games, though it's not exactly canon to those either. Sonic's gone from being a team player and de facto leader of the Freedom Fighter group to his cool, free as the wind personality, popularised by the games and Sonic X to an extent. Trust me, it was pretty jarring to come from Archie Sonic to this one for these reasons alone. It was indeed awe-inspiring to see the blue blur in a new light, but it was also scary because us comic fans didn't know what we were getting. It was a slow beginning too. The new comic didn't quite get its identity yet, and the new story direction felt flat, like Sega were really limiting their writers with their various mandates. I'm only saying that when juxtaposed to Archie Sonic. There, we had weird plot MacGuffins left and right. We had troll wizards, all sorts of crazy stuff that made IDW Sonic tame by comparison. It wasn't until, like, a few issues later that the book got its own original characters, and most of them are pretty freaking excellent and are now series mainstays. Tangle the Lemur, Whisper the Wolf, Dr. Starline, Surge and Kitsunami, that sheep NPC who keeps popping up. These guys really helped give the book its own identity, along with the more defined personalities of the game cast. And now that this book is reaching its 50th issue at the time of this video, I think it's a good time for me to begin my analysis on this comic's beginnings. It's about time, am I right? And spoiler alert for the first arc of the comic book, just in case any of you wish to read this on your own. There's not much story yet, but it goes without saying. Anywho, time to get into this long-awaited comic. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. In this video, we're looking at the first 4 issues of Sonic the Hedgehog by IDW Publishing. Before I get into the comic itself, I think I ought to address the covers first. The first 4 comic covers by Tyson Hesse are really amazing as an ensemble piece. Personally, I like how it looks when put together as one piece of art instead of individual covers. It just makes them look all the same. the variant covers do a better job at properly signifying what goes on in the issues, so I'm going to be bringing them up as well. Gosh, look at them all. Issue 1 in particular has a bunch, drawn by artists new and old. But one of my faves is definitely the one done by Natalie Fordrain. Her style is just so fitting for Sonic. Fallout Part 1 starts with a quick introduction to the state of the world. After the events of Sonic Forces, following years of bouts with the Blue Hedgehog and his various mechs, the villainous Dr. Eggman has vanished without a trace. But his Badnik robots are still causing havoc without their leader, plunging the unnamed towns of Sonic's world, into disarray, though it's just the adventure the titular Blue Blur is looking for, and we see him heading straight for the fire. Sonic does his super fast Speedy Boy thing, fighting off egg pawns and motorbugs and the like, while still taking the time to talk to the town's awe-struck inhabitants. He might be cocky as hell, but I still love how well Sonic works in comic form. The blue dude finds himself unexpectedly surrounded by egg hammers thanks to his lack of hedgehoggy insight, and he does almost get knocked out by one of them in mid-chase, but thankfully, Tails is here to save him from an embarrassing death. Hells yeah. It's pretty bloody awesome seeing him and Sonic in action, since Tails had been pretty much relegated to a non-combatant in Forces. Salt, my favourite. Through the power of teamwork, the duo destroy all the dumb drones daring to dash out of the town, and the day is saved, even though the town around them is like partially destroyed. We did it, Sonic, we saved the city! Following that, Tails keeps Sonic up to speed on the current happenings and how the Badnik attacks have started to become less random and more coordinated, suggesting that someone behind the scenes is controlling them in Eggman's place. It can't be a sign that Eggman is back. He almost always announces his presence to the world all bombastic-like, so something must be up. Sonic's all overconfident and aloof as usual, but Tails expresses great concern at losing his friend again, as had happened in the game prior. Sonic's thankfully sympathetic, and he reassures his buddy. And while Tails wishes he could come along with Sonic and fight all the Badniks like the good old days, he thinks it's best he stays behind and help rebuild the ransacked town, leaving Sonic to leave and continue his solo cruise around not Mobius. Yeah, get used to that. The issue finishes following some unknown figure observing the unaware Hedgehog and plotting where exactly the Badnik Horde will attack next, and potentially harm the nearby Amy Rose in the process. Not the most inspiring of stories, but certainly a hook to get us to read the next issue, so on to the next issue. Why did I write it like that? 4 covers again. I can't decide which one is the best. They are all beautifully drawn. I like the main cover with Sonic and Amy. I like the Sonic Forces themed one done by Adam Bryce Thomas, even with the Sonic Forces designed egg pawns, along with the one done by Fordrain. The colours, man. What surprised me was this 4th one done by John Gray of the Archie Sonic books, which served as a shocking revelation at the time, because I was like, oh god, John Gray is working on the IDW comics now. No, I kid. His art is the most unique style-wise, and you can never get me to hate his character expressions and crowd shots. Fallout Part 2 begins with Sonic racing that giant crab robot, which thanks to Sonic News Network I now know to be called Death Crab, and he destroys it just before it can trample the city of Riverside. Our hero saves its inhabitants, including the fan-favourite Sheep Grill, from certain death. Sonic, it doesn't quite seem deactivated yet, but before he can do another hero thing, Amy Rose jumps in and slams her hammer onto the Death Crab, destroying it for good. Our girl Amy had apparently stopped by specifically because she knew her hero would be here, which probably has Sonic bail out on her in typical Sonic fashion. However, Amy demands that he join her, as the Resistance needs his help as a full-time member. They are apparently struggling to deal with the new Badnik assaults, and they also need help because their commander Knuckles just buggered off, the lazy bugger. While Sonic is hesitant to commit to a professional relationship, the two are soon interrupted by another Badnik attack, this time by some ostrich bots. Working together to save people from getting a rocket to the face, Sonic and Amy decide to put aside their argument and team up, with Amy even initiating the Croquet Bomber to destroy the enemy spawner. Also, I love the art, by the way, but I'm holding off until the review section. After the robots are all destroyed and Sonic dismisses the repeated requests of a flustered Amy, both in and out of battle, the Blue Blur states he is best when not restricted, a free creature, one who goes wherever the wind takes him, etc, etc. It's corny as hell, but I guess we need one reason for Sonic to stay as a solo hero. Also, Sonic utters some of the lyrics from his theme song in Sonic Adventure. Don't think I didn't notice that, Flynn, you crafty Sonic fan you. Amy's totally cool with it, surprisingly, as the Resistance only really needs her anyway. Though, not for long, give it a few more issues. So this issue ends with Sonic going off to help Knuckles the Echidna investigate another town. All the while the dude is still being spied on by the unidentified villain. Eggman's pair of Lucky Bots are shown working for them, and give us a teaser of who Sonic and Knuckles will be meeting very soon. Hey, is that... I've made that joke before. Once again, the variant covers take precedence in the awesomeness department. Four Drains one is rad as hell, but I also love the covers done by Jennifer Hernandez and Jamal Peppers, two other Archie Sonic veterans, mainly because it shows the actual antagonists instead of just Emerald Hill Zone again. Fallout Part 3 starts out in yet another town, where Sonic stumbles upon Knuckles, and look at him, he's beating the crap out of a giant Death Egg robot sentinel. Good lord, Knuckles, why were you leading the Resistance in Sonic Forces when you could just be wrecking some motherfucker? His reasoning for shirking his responsibilities as commander and letting Amy do all the work, it being that he wants to return to Angel Island, and Sonic is told that this town is basically where the Wispin weapons are developed. In layman's terms, they are good guy guns. The town's been barricaded ever since the Eggman War, later being given the name Barricade Town, and the duo storm the place against the villagers' desperate pleas. When pressed, this cute dog dude explains that the town is under the control of a pair of thuggish mercenaries. They initially protected them from the Badnik Horde, but have since taken advantage of their hospitality, and that's why they need Sonic's help. Investigating a nearby warehouse, Knuckles is able to discover some Wisp aliens, the power source of the Wispins, and he and Sonic overhear ominous laughter in the next room. Oh snap, it's the boys! A pair of skunk dudes bullying the populace. Meet Rough and Tumble, a pair of buddies who work together, fight together, and make introductory announcements together. Love these guys. Even if they're not meant to be taken seriously, they are considered lower than the hooligans for goodness sake. And that team had Bean in it. A bombastic fight scene occurs, a battle of strength versus speed, or in Knuckles and Ruff's case, strength versus skunk smell. Ew. The battle comes to a point where the evil mercenaries attempt to use Wispins against the heroes, but Sonic has other ideas. The Blue Blur rallies the Wisps from their weaponed vessels because he's Sonic the Hedgehog, he saved their planet one time. And that leaves the villains with no ammo and are prime for a climactic arse whooping. Ruff and Tumble are arrested by the authorities, and the now publicly known Wisps decide to stay with the villagers of Barricade Town and help them defend it from any future attacks. This is a good cause for celebration. It's probably the happiest ending in the entire Fallout arc. But alas, things aren't quite as great as they seem. That mysterious figure is still watching Sonic & Co, and we get a similar panel to the last two issues, only this time it's from a slightly different angle. Seems like the Master Emerald isn't safe, and the story ends with the ominous villain overlooking his future plots on a computer screen, and the comic teases at the future appearance of Tangle and Blaze in the next issue. Whoa, wait a minute! Man, Tangle the Lemur is so cool. You want to talk about Sonic-born characters that fit right into the world of the games? Then she's your girl. Again, this issue has a bunch of variant covers, including some new ones from when the issue got reprinted. But my favourite is obviously this fricking one. Look at the flames! Look at the composition! Why isn't it the main cover? Tell me if you've heard this one before. Fallout Part 4 starts out with Sonic running into a village in trouble with a Badnik assault, and he teams up with a cool peep to help the local resistance. I'll admit it's getting a tad formulaic at this point, but I like the look of Spiral Hill Village, and the art and colours are obviously impressive to behold. It turns out, Sonic doesn't need to save these guys, as Tangle the Lemur is already here trashing some robots with her extendable tail. What a cool Sonic ability to have, even if it means explosions can make your tail get all singed. That must hurt. Tangle seems just as eager to destroy Badniks as Sonic does, and the two easily get along and protect the village together. the Horde starts bringing in giant Motobug tanks, and the two are quickly surrounded. However, literally appearing out of nowhere in a tornado of flames, Blaze the Cat makes her IDW debut. I love this appearance so much, and so do the heroes apparently. Even with Lima Girl over there doing the whole... With Blaze on their team, the trio easily destroy the remaining badniks. They wreck them with flame powers, they destroy the Motobug tanks by throwing pieces of themselves at each other, they work together with their combined powers to destroy the giant bee battleship, and Sonic makes this face at one point. With the town saved from further devastation, for the reader's benefit, Sonic gives the two introductions and keeps Blaze up to speed on game events. I appreciate this joke at Sonic Force's expense, that plot was so mishandled. Blaze states that she was sent to Sonic's world by the will of the Soul Emeralds, her dimension's counterpart to the Chaos Emeralds, but she decides to stay and help fix up Spiral Hill Village, much to Tangled's excitement. After a 2-second break, Sonic goes off to the next point of interest, or wherever the plot takes him. The Fallout arc ends in some other village, with a kid crying about his broken wagon, and a peep overlooking them from behind some blinds. Surprise! Dr. Fricking Eggman is here, not in his evil chair, and he ominously states that he will fix everything in this post-war world. And with that image, we've reached the finish line. Time to review these 4 introductory issues. You know, even 4 years later, my initial thoughts on the story structure of these 4 issues have stayed exactly the same. As an introduction to IDW Sonic, it could have been worse, I suppose. But even now, I felt a tad impatient with the frequent plot beats of Sonic goes to town, defends a town from bad guys with the help of a buddy, and then they have a quick talk of the state of matters before Sonic zooms off to his next location. All the while an ominous figure in a chair watches his every move. I believe my unfair gripes with the repetitive structure might sort of come from having read the previous Archie Sonic books, which were so deep in their own stories that it makes this introduction more lackluster by comparison. Not to mention, there's a couple of small things that made me think of the previous comics. For one thing, it shared some of its artists and writer. Sonic and Amy at one point do the Fastball special, here called the Croquet Bomber, and you tell me this panel isn't a reference to Yardley's old work. There's just some elements of the last comic series that still lingers here. So it's a fresh start for the formula. That's fine enough. And to ease new fans in, they also treat each issue so far as an introduction to the cast, most of which are from the games. Issue 1 sets up both the world and Sonic and Tails' friendship, as well as how it connects to the end of Sonic Forces. Sonic and Tails being an awesome fighting duo is always neat, and again, I appreciate seeing the Fox dude not only have fighting prowess, but also hints that Sonic nearly being beaten to death during the events of Sonic Forces really affected him, a thing that the game itself kind of forgot about. Its inclusion here leads to some nice moments that cement their brotherly relationship, and I will always encourage that. Issue number 2 had just as much action, but also addressed how the Resistance was doing, and also show us just how awesome Amy Rose is with a hammer. I also enjoyed her and Sonic's moments together, as one-sided as their relationship is. Issue number 3 was more of the same, only instead of Amy, it's Knuckles, and instead of Badniks, it's Rough and Tumble. That certainly helped it differentiate itself from the other plots. Also, quick side note, the artist included some of her fan characters as some of the background NPCs, and I follow this artist, she makes cute as heck stuff, so when I saw Jade and Crystal, I was like, wow, I know these guys. Lastly, issue number 4 showcased a new character and reintroduced Blaze the Cat. Tyson Hess was the dude who designed Tangled, and I love her design and energeticness so much. I was pumped when she appeared in one of the phone games as a playable racer. Every issue so far had that same story structure and the same kind of comic cover, but there were some things and visual elements that helped them stand out from one another. Shall I get into the art? I think I want to gush about the art. All I can say is, visually, this is a brilliant introduction to IDW Sonic. The action is fast-paced and dynamic as all hell. Not one issue was lacking in that department. Sonic's speed is showcased pretty well alongside his usual cockiness, and it's visually striking seeing all the ways he and his friends totally trash badniks left and right. I don't recall if they have little animals inside of them in this comic, but I certainly hope they live and are not traumatized in the slightest. Mad props to Yardley, Bryce Thomas, Hernandez and Stanley for their illustrations. Thank you guys for staying on as awesome artists, even when Archie Sonic ended so abruptly. I will say it did take quite a bit of time for me to distance my thought process from the comic series that came before, and while it was a rough and slow start, it gives me joy to know that IDW Sonic would later become more of its own thing. So you bet I'm going to continue reading these and see where the comic series goes, because when you start at the bottom, the only way to go is up. What? That's about it for the review. I did say there really wasn't much in terms of story, and I think I might have geeked out enough already. So let's get into rating these bad boys. Issue number 1 made for a decent introduction for newcomers of the series, even if the plot and the story direction is more bare bones and it left me wanting more out of it. A good start, but it gets better, so I'll give it an above average 6 out of 10, just barely below a 7. Issue number 2 is visually impressive, and I love the little character moments and their expressions, regardless of Sonic being that aloof hero type that doesn't like to be tied down. Yeah, I'm still getting used to that. But yeah, these rad panels and their angles, they just ooze charm, and it really makes you want to read it. Like, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog comic. For that, I think I'll give it a score of 8. Issue number 3 is a more self-contained story involving Sonic and Knuckles getting help from the Wisps and fighting off the new bad guys, which I appreciate in terms of variety. The art isn't as grand, but it could just be because it's sandwiched between all these stories with spectacular flashy visuals. The story and characters sell it for me the best, and like with issue number 1, I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10 overall. Issue number 4, my word, I love the visuals more than issue 2's. And that's probably thanks to Holmes' colours, who was legendary in the previous comic for his use of vibrant colouring. I rather enjoyed the banter between Sonic and co, and them beating up badniks together and destroying the giant bee ship thing, definitely a highlight for the entire issue. For its neat character moments and awesome action scenes, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 as well. And that's it for those issues. It sure is nice that IDW Sonic organises most of its stories into 4 issues at a time. It certainly makes reviewing them easier. In the next video, I plan on keeping this IDW train going full steam ahead, so stay tuned for my review on the next 4 issues of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'll be covering the fate of Dr. Eggman and the next 2 issues following that. I hope people find these reviews enjoyable as much as I do making them. Thank you ever so much for watching, if indeed you still are, and I'll see you in the next video.